Grace and peace, everybody. Hope you all are well. Welcome to our classroom. In this space, we talk about education, which is inclusive of, but not limited to, what happens in schools. Education is taking place whenever and wherever people are willing to learn. I am your host, Roberto Germán, and today we will be talking about using bilingual books to teach self-love and diversity. Now we'll be joined by author Marisa Taylor. Marisa lives in London, UK, and her first book, Happy Within, has been translated to over 15 different languages, into 15 different languages. And the purpose of not just the book, but having all these translations is to create diverse resources, diverse bilingual resources that will encourage children to learn a second language, to celebrate multiculturalism. So we applaud that, and we want to learn. We want to learn more about that. Marisa is passionate about learning and teaching languages, given that it's a key element to connecting with people from other cultures. And so glad that you could join us here today. And let's bring Marisa with us now, Marisa Taylor.
Hi.
Hello. How
Hello.
are you? Welcome.
Good.
Doing well. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Over here, it's 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And where you're at, I know you mentioned there was a time change. So 8:30 p.m. your time, right?
Yeah, it's 8:30. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize that the time changed until I woke up and I was like, ah.
No worries. It's all good. So, hey, folks, whether you're joining us here on the East Coast in the United States or anywhere in the United States, or whether you're joining us from the UK or somewhere else, welcome to our classroom. So glad to have you here. Marisa, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. Looking forward to listening to you and learning from you. And on this platform, our classroom, we talk a lot about books, and I talk to a lot of authors. I talk to a lot of educators. Don't know if you're in the classroom or not, but know that you have a passion for teaching, and particularly teaching languages, and so I can appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Let's go ahead and jump right in then. So you wrote Happy Within, and based on your bio, based on a little bit that I've researched and read about you, it seems that this book comes from a personal place. So eager to hear you talk about the personal experiences that inspired you to write Happy Within.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I actually have like quite a few reasons as to why I wrote the book. I think, I don't know if anyone knows me, but I have another page that's like travel related page, and I used to do a lot of tips on traveling and then traveling with babies. And then when I was pregnant with our first daughter, so we have two daughters, and we are, well, an interracial couple, and my husband said, when I was pregnant, he was like, your daughter is going to go through things that, you didn't go through, and you have to be able to prepare and know how to parent, a mixed child. And so I just started, researching online and how to raise mixed race kids and what I need to do. And one big thing was confidence, so building their self-confidence. And then
everybody loves to feel affirmed.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like a big thing. And then I just, you know, I was, you know, with my other page, I was posting, and I just felt like, oh, just posting captions and pictures. Like I kind of want to do more, something that, you know, kids can just read over and over and over again, rather than just like a 5 second, oh, that's a good caption. And, you know, and I was just, okay, let me write a book. And then I just started writing. And, you know, and then, you know, reading kids' books, I just realized a lot of books like don't really have like a message, like an important life lesson message in there. And so I just thought, you know, teach about self-love. I didn't know until I was like 30 that, you know, the important, like to be happy, you have to love yourself. And so I thought, let's try to write something that, you know, we can teach the kids early on that, you know, happiness starts with loving yourself. And so that was kind of like how I started writing Happy Within. And then, you know, in the process, then I became a mom. And then I realized, because we're a bilingual family, that there are no resources, like hardly anything bilingual books. You know, it's a lot of English books, and a lot of parents have to read it and translate in their head, you know, when they're reading the English. And so to help me and my husband raise our kids bilingual, I thought if I write, you know, have that book in English so he can read it and I can read in German, that would help them. So that's how I kind of got into the like how I made like in English and then, you know, additional languages just to help families, you know, bilingual families.
That's awesome. And what I love about that is that you saw there was a gap, you saw there was a problem, you took it upon yourself to take some steps to create resources first and foremost for your family, for your kids, but then to make it available to others. And you mentioned a couple things that piqued my curiosity. One of them was that when you were looking at children's books, that you found they didn't have meaningful messages. So what are a lot of the messages that you tend to come across, or maybe at that time came across in children's books, that made you think, you know what, no, I have to write something with meaning here?
Yeah, well, I know when you kids when the kids start reading, it's like a lot of phonics, but it's like bed, head, bread, you know. You read a lot of that stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, you know. And when the kids get older, I tend to look for a lot of books that have like teach a lesson, like how to deal with temper and you know, just like parenting, you know, lessons. I tend to look for books that are like that, and I kind of thought I personally couldn't find anything that was teaching about self-love really.
Mm-hmm.
Thought, you know, I would make that, and you know, it's never it's never too early to start talking about that or race, because kids know when they're like, my daughter was 3 and she was like, Mom, why are you like the only white person in the family? You know, like they know that. So it's, you know, it's important that we talk about that right away.
It's great that you say that, and you probably just offended somebody by saying that. Um, oh, it's never too early to talk. Yes, it's too early to talk about race. And I don't know how it is where you're at over there in the UK and in London, but over here in the United States, and I'm in the state of Florida. We have a lot of interesting things happening. Amongst them, this pushback to not talk about things such as race.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've seen that, you know, across the globe, like people say, like if I tell them about something, they're like, what, really? It happened? So, you know, like you hear that everywhere. But, you know, I obviously firsthand recognize, you know, when my daughter asks questions and I'm not black, and, you know, and you're like, how do you answer that kind of stuff? Yes, you are. You're a beautiful mix of both parents, you know, but they know, they see, like they see what's happening. And so it's just important rather than like pushing it to the side to just talk about it. Like, you're, you know, you're who you are and you're beautiful just the way you are, and your friend is beautiful and you're all, you know, special. And so that's why I wanted to incorporate that as well, like to know that my daughter knows that all the kids are special.
That's great. And it's important for us to not dismiss what it is the kids see, what it is they understand, what it is that they're curious about. So I'm glad to hear that you're doing that as a parent for your children, and also doing it as an author. Now, you're a well-traveled person. You lived in Spain. I think you lived in Canada also,
Yeah.
right? And you're currently in the UK. So, you know, you've been to a lot of places. So I've lived in the United States. I've been to other places, but I've lived most of my life, all of my life really, in the United States. So I'm curious to hear from you, based on your experience living in other countries, how do you see other countries responding to concepts of bilingualism and diversity?
Yeah. Well, so I think I got more enticed, and I always grew up bilingual. So my dad's German, my mom's Canadian. And I was born in Canada. When I was 4, I moved to Germany. So I grew up in Germany, German school, spoke English at home. So that was normal. But when I went to Spain, I realized like there's so many people that speak languages. Like, well, I was actually like, I only spoke 2, and everyone I knew at work spoke like 3, 4, 5. And so that kind of like inspired me, like, wow, I need to get with it, and learn more. And apparently, like in this process, like when I came out the book, because I knew there was like a lack of books, but apparently only 3% of books are bilingual, and 43%,
Really?
yeah, and 43% of the world is bilingual. So it's 43% in the whole world is bilingual, and there's like hardly anything for them. Like a lot of times, like you talk to parents and they say, oh, I buy the English books and then I have to translate in my head, when I read into my language. And so yeah, that's so there is, there are a lot of people that speak a lot of languages, especially like when Belgians, like they all speak like English and French and Flemish and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And then in terms of diversity, I think a lot of people talk about the US, and because the media has this eye on US and how they need to be better, and racism and all this kind of stuff. And like since I've come out with the books, I realized like how bad the books, like the resources are for Europe, like even in other countries, like way worse than North America. Like North America and
Really?
UK, yeah, like North America and UK, there's way more diverse resources than in Germany or in Spain or Italy. Like it's non-existent. Like that was why I wanted as well to have mine in German, because I could never find books. Like I found 1 book or 2 books with kids of color, like in German, and everything else is white or animals, and so it's really bad actually in those countries. So they could do a lot better when it
Mm.
comes to encouragement to those watching and listening. If you speak those languages, those there is a need for that.
No, that's great to know. And for me as an American, it's also good to hear, in the sense of like good to understand different perspectives and what's happening in other countries and how does it compare to what's happening in the United States. And then that data point that you just shared of 43% of the world being bilingual, and only 3% books that are written bilingually. That's wow, that's an eye opener. And even for me, it's inspiring and challenging me as an author to consider what it is I'm working on and how I can make it even more accessible.
Yeah, definitely. Please do.
Yeah, so why don't you, and this question's coming to me right now as I'm thinking about what you're doing, your books, the 15 plus languages that your books are available in. Maybe you could share with us, with the audience, your process. How'd you go about making it so accessible?
Yeah, I think so. Um, I kind of started with, so the languages that I know. So I did English. I wanted to purely do, bilingual, and then my husband was like, "No, you should do English as well." So I did that. But I speak German, so I already translated that myself, and then Spanish and Portuguese. So those were done, and then I just got native friends, like friends of mine, to like review my translation. And then the other languages, as I've published, like when I started this account, people had written to me and they're like, "Oh, can you do it in, Norwegian, and then can you do it in Catalan?" Like I had a request, can you do it in not Portuguese, but yeah, actually now Portuguese, for European Portuguese, because I had it in Brazilian. But I had requests, and so basically I've been just taking a list of the requests, and if I have a higher demand, I would then go for that language, just based on outweighing the cost and doing another one. But I've already had everything, the book made, and the text and everything, so it's kind of just replacing the one language text with another. So it's just graphic design to help to like change the text. Going to Chinese and Arabic is a lot more difficult and more expensive, but like if there's a need, if I have people ask me, like I'm more than happy to like look into it. And I do tell people, like, I'll take note of your language and then I'll look into doing it. And people also ask, can you combine, like French and Spanish? And so I've done that as well. So I do that as well. If I already have it, why not? So it's just, yeah, so.
Awesome. And where are some of the countries where you're seeing the most interest?
Actually in the US.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of it is the Spanish, the US, the Spanish bilingual book.
Okay.
Um, and then,
So
it just depends.
Spanish in the US.
Yeah, Spanish in the US. Because right now I've self-published on Amazon, so I'm only using Amazon so far, but I do work with small businesses who approach me and say we'd like to carry and distribute your books on our store and so on. So I do work with them and give discounts and so on. But so far, because I work full time, so I do this in the evening, and then so Amazon was actually a good platform. A lot of people knock Amazon, but it's actually been not bad for me because it's a print per order basis. So when someone orders, like, there's not ongoing costs. If someone orders, they order a book and it's ready, it just printed when it's ordered. So it's kind of convenient. And then it has access to, like the Spain and the Japan and Australia, and I don't have to go to the post office. So it's quite good access to.
Yeah, we use Amazon also as one of our options. We've worked with a local print company, but we do this hybrid approach where we also use
Yeah.
Amazon, and it's worked out well for us also, along with the publishing company for Lorena's other book, her second book. Now for monolingual families, and particularly monolingual families that do not necessarily live in a racially, ethnically, linguistically diverse community. What are some steps that they can implement to learn a new language and connect with people from other cultures?
Yeah. Okay, so let's have a think. Let's break. So I think in terms of monolingual families and learning another language, I think it's possible to learn another language without living in that country. It takes a lot of persistence. So whether it's like you're teaching your kids and you have to make sure, like you kind of immerse yourself as if you were living there. For example, so like when I moved to London, I learned Portuguese, but I pretty much made sure that I only did everything like that was Portuguese. So, if I write to my friends that are Brazilian and text with them, or I'd read books and I'd watch movies, and you kind of pretty much do everything as if you're living there. Or I'd make sure that I'd hang out with more friends that speak the language, just so that I'm, fully have to like communicate with them. So like movies, listening, music, that helps a lot. Like it helped me so much just to print out music. So even, whether you're an adult, you can still learn a language. You don't have to be, they say like when you're a kid, you can learn it, but you can learn it when you're older as well. It's all about, immersing yourself in whatever form you can, like music, reading, surrounding yourself with people that speak the language. In terms of families, yeah, it's important that you do a combination of things. And when you're teaching kids, just combine, like the music and the books and the toys, and there are various different resources out there. You just have to kind of look for it. But it is possible to do that. But it also is, I think it's a bit tiring because you're like, you have to as well, like stay on top of it and make sure that you follow through. And but if you do not only speak the one language, like there is opportunity to do online courses. Like I know pages like Bilinguitos, and so they do like, or Billy Kids Day, they do like courses and in Spanish, and provide a lot of tips. And if just a combination of things, it's still possible, but you have to kind of stick to it. But after a while, like a few months, it works.
Now, those pages that you mentioned, are those Instagram pages?
Yeah, so there are quite a few pages. Like they do courses, online courses, with pandemic, and so Bilinguitos, they do like Spanish programs and stuff. And then another friend of mine that I met through Instagram, Billy Kids, she does like consulting for monolingual and bilingual families on like what kind of resources and what kind of methods could be used. So there's a lot of stuff out there. And I think in terms of like the connecting with cultures and diversity, like that is a bit, I mean, I hear people say, oh, where I live, it's not very diverse. But I think the question is like, have you actually looked? You know, I think a lot of families as well, they say that, but they haven't actually looked at their surroundings and, you know, maybe looked at the schools. Okay, if they went to school, they just picked the first school, but did they actually check, like in the back of their mind, like, is this a diverse school? And I think there's a way, like, you can also change your mentality and things to make sure that your kids are surrounded by other kids from other cultures. So I think that also has to do, like, there has to be some, you know, you have to consciously know, like, think about these things. So I think those families where they say it's not diverse, there are some things that they can do and maybe open their eyes.
So shifting mindsets and
The mindset, yeah.
then taking some action steps. And I think about just getting in the vehicle and, you know, driving somewhere where you are going to find a more diverse population, right? Maybe the town that you live in, that's not the case, but, you know, maybe the next town or maybe further away. Because part of what I'm hearing you say is that it takes a commitment. You got to
Yeah,
be intentional
yeah,
about
exactly.
your willingness to learn another language and to learn another culture and to essentially be able to connect with other people.
Yeah, and then exactly, like if you want to learn about another culture, like look up, you know, look up movies or, you know, on Netflix. There's so many like international movies in other languages. You can read up about it and look those up. But yeah, or even like if you're in the workplace, like have a think, like, wait a second, like, okay, there are only two people of color. Say something, you know, say something to HR and like make a change. And then once you do that, then the things will change.
So, Marisa, what's a message of encouragement that you'd like to share with the audience?
Um, I think a good one and kind of one of my favorite quotes is dedication has no limitation.
I like,
So if you know, have something that you're interested in, like whether it's a language or the topic, like, you know, if you dedicate yourself to it fully, that, you know, you can see those results.
mm, mm. Well, Marisa, thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing with us about Happy Within. Hey, folks, those of you who are with us right now, take some time to check out Marissa's work.
Thank you
Take
so much.
time to support her book, Happy Within. We want to support uh, bilingualism, multiculturalism. We want kids to be able to not just learn and reinforce their own language, but to be willing to stumble in the process of learning another language. It's okay, right? It's okay for us to mess up. It's okay for us to make some
That's
mistakes.
the fun.
We have to be willing to try things on, right? And so let's encourage not just young folks, right? Because I think the message here, and I know your book is directed towards children, but I think the message applies even to us as adults that we should be willing to disrupt our comfort by trying on another language, by trying to learn another culture, by connecting with people who are not necessarily like us.
Exactly. Well said.
I'm just playing with your message, Marissa. I'm
Yeah.
I'm just giving that information to the people because it's the message that you're pushing through your book, Happy Within. And so we want to support people who are doing good work and people who are pushing us towards being more connected
Yeah,
and not divided. There's enough divisiveness in our world. We want to be able to encourage connection, love, growth, understanding, and we want to be able to broaden our horizons. And so, love what you're doing. We support what you're doing. We appreciate you. And hopefully, we will connect once again.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, and looking forward to the resources that you're going to come up with as well. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions, or, you know, we'll work through, you know, work on this together. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
watching as well, they can feel free to message me if they have questions about, the process.
Yes. And what is the best place for folks to follow you, whether it's on Instagram or other platforms where you're really active? Where would you like people to follow you?
Yeah, so I'm more on Instagram right now. I need
Okay.
to branch out, but my handle is at Lingo Babies. So yeah, that's where you could reach out
Well,
and send
folks,
me a
go ahead and follow Marisa at Lingo Babies. Also, her book, Happy Within, is available for purchase via Amazon. Again, 15 different languages. So check it out. Check it out today. Support Marisa in the work she's doing. And whether you buy it for yourself or you gift it to somebody else, we want to support people who are doing good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, Marisa. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.